This is Charlie Parsons for Boxing Social in association with Forged Irish Stout and Empire Fight Store. The main man, Maxi Hughes, on my Zoom this morning. How are you, mate?
Yes, boy. All good, mate. All good.
Let's go straight into it. I suppose a little reflection on 2023. I suppose it must be a little bit bittersweet, really, because you had that fight with George Kambosos. A lot of people thought you won. The decision didn't go your way. You're now sort of in a bit of an appeal process with the IBF to get a ranking, a high ranking, and everything. When you now reflect on everything, what's your sort of initial reaction?
I've got like mixed emotions on it because I would have liked, for the past couple of years. Obviously, when you reach world level and you're fighting 12 rounds, you don't get many 12 rounders a year anyway. If you get three, you're very lucky. But I've sort of been settling with two fights a year, but only having the one. It's not been great. Obviously, um, it's obviously earnings which are not there. Um, but yeah, overall, the decision was an absolute disgrace. Everybody who watched that fight knows what should have happened. The process that I've gone through with the IBF, it's been timely, but I've been very patient, and we should be thereabouts, ready to find out what's going to be happening. So obviously, I think not just me, but a lot of my friends and people who watched it actually just randomly got hold of the IBF, the social media IBF, and got hold of email addresses, and the firing emails in at the IBF saying it were a disgrace. And due to me and my team's complaints, I've got an email from Daryl Peoples, the president at IBF, and he'd said, they've had the fight rescored by an independent panel of judges, which the outcome would have been different. So that's a little nice tick box, a little pat on the back saying, yeah. Unfortunately, it don't change the decision, but when you do normally lose an eliminator, um, you're either out of the rankings or you drop well down. But they've in fact moved me up. They moved me into top five, which makes me eligible for a final eliminator, which is what we're waiting on now. The last that I heard before we heard Devon had vacated all the belts was Devon's keeping his belts. He's got 72 hours after his fight this weekend to inform the IBF what he's doing. And as soon as he's done that, the IBF are going to go bump, bump, bump. You're fighting him. You're fighting him. You're fighting him. Off you go, sort of thing. So that's what we've been waiting on. Frustrating time, but now that he's officially vacated, I'm hoping that the IBF have got that confirmation in writing, which I suppose they need to follow the due process. I've actually got a call with my promoter Lou DeBella tonight and my manager Steffi, just to discuss what's happening. So hopefully, obviously, Lou being over the pond, he might have more of an insight and the insiders' information on what might be happening, what's going to get ordered, sort of thing. So it'd be good to get that call later this afternoon and hopefully get some news.
I know you're not quite aware as to how the whole landscape will play out. Obviously, Devin Haney coming out and saying that he will be vacating those belts at 135. Do you think the likely situation is Kambosos fights number two, and then you're sort of given that final eliminator, and you sort of maybe have those two fights in 2024, one final eliminator, and then towards the back end for the full title?
That's the hope and that's the plan. Yeah, obviously, it looks like George is going to get his shot against Lomachenko, which that hurts.
Is that
Me
bittersweet? Yeah,
seeing that,
yeah,
and I
yeah.
think you bastard, you don't deserve that. And you go, and to be honest, that is obviously I exposed George. I beat him up. Let's be right. And I think Lomachenko will do an absolute number on him. As another southpaw, George doesn't know what to do against a southpaw. He's not good enough. So as long as Lomachenko's the Lomachenko we know, then he'll do an absolute number on George. And then the hope is then that I've in because there's only four of us in top five. Number one's vacant.
Okay.
So the the other contender is Isaac Pitbull Cruz, which hopefully he's up for that fight with me. If that's the one that gets ordered, I'll relish that fight and believe his style's meant for me. And I'm confident I'd come through that with flying colours, and be in line, get moved up to that number one spot with the IBF number one, and be ready in line waiting for my opportunity and my chance.
When you retire, when that day comes, is it to have that world champion? I know that world championship, I know that sort of it probably would have been a little bit easier had the story unfolded with George Kambosos differently, but boxing is political. But
Yeah.
is the end goal when you retire?
Ultimately, the goal is financial.
Okay.
If they sort of do go hand in hand together, don't they? You win the belts, and the financial package
Yeah.
comes with that. But if the routes come and opportunities come where there's these big named fights, but there's no belt on line, I'd still be just as happy taking them because we've moved house this year into our forever house. It needs plenty of work doing to it, so we'll get that work done, get the mortgage paid, have some investment. I want to live a comfortable life. My wife's not too happy about it, but I've started a motorbike collection.
Oh God.
Yeah. So when I do retire, I'll be leaving one dangerous sport and probably going straight into another
I didn't
one.
know you were a motorbike rider, Maxi.
I am. I used to do it when I was younger, and before I turned pro, I was into the motocross. And with turning pro, I had to I give that up because I thought, one bad crash on that, I could potentially end my career. So put the bikes on hold, focus on my professional career, and now we're sort of going in the back edge, the back end of my career. Let's start that up now and
Start thinking
get
about
that.
that again.
Yeah, get them plans in place. Yeah.
Let me ask you, Eddie Hearn came out last week and he sort of mentioned a fight with Dalton Smith at £140. Now, when I read these comments, I was a little bit surprised. That would mean sacrificing your IBF ranking, which we've sort of just spoke about now, and also going up to £140. Dalton is someone that we know is on the up, but
Mm.
I thought it was a little bit of a strange fight, in all honesty. What did you make of those comments? And have you had an approach?
All that I've had is not an official offer or contract or something like that. I just had a call quite a few weeks ago from the manager, but I sort of shrugged it off, laughed it off, didn't think it were really serious. But like you say, Dalton's a weight above. I've got no business being at £140. So as we know, I've got the position with the IBF waiting to be ordered in Eliminator. So why would I take that? You know. So yes, when he said it, I didn't see it. Somebody mentioned it, and I was like, I don't know why he's saying that. Is he trying to make me look bad? Is he seeing what interest it gathers? Yeah, just found it strange. Yeah, and why would I take that fight?
I think sort of a lot of people sort of reiterated that when I was looking at the social media comments, it was all a lot of like, I mean, I know that financials come into play, but a lot of people sort of saying now Maxi doesn't need to move up to 140. He's got his position there at 135.
Yeah, I mean, I've moved up from super feather, so I've moved up to lightweight, and I'll probably finish my career at lightweight. I'm very very comfortable. I make it so easy. There's no weight cut involved with me doing lightweight. I mean, I've spoke like sort of to my wife and my mates. The only person who I would move up to 140 for would be my old pal Ryan Garcia. Obviously, the history of last year, we tried to get the fight on 3 times and it never sort of quite came off. But he's probably the only person who I would move up for. Obviously because of the financial rewards. Yeah, so that's the only one I would move up for. But as he has moved up, he's looking for other fights at that weight. So that probably won't ever happen. Like, so, I'll finish my career at my weight, which is lightweight.
All right, Maxi, just finally for me on Josh. We were sort of expecting to see how events unfolded in Belfast, and we know that there's that sort of triangle or square of fighters at 130 pounds that are in the mix for some huge fights. We know that he wants that rematch with Leigh Wood. Maybe the
Yeah,
outcome will be the Forest Ground, 18th of May. That's the one that sort of everyone's putting their eggs in that basket. We'd love to see it again, right? The atmosphere in there was special.
absolutely. Yeah.
Stadium
Yeah.
fights are always good. How does the rematch go?
Obviously, I back my man Josh, and I think with the other potential contenders um, before the weekend, I think it only really leaves Josh in line. As we know, boxing's a business, and Eddie will know this. I think the only person who could make the Forest Ground financially viable and doable would be Josh, because Leeds, Josh's fans in Leeds have been chomping at bit for years and years, wanting an away day. They always ask him, Josh, when we having an away day, when we having an away day. Um, they're all good to go. It's obviously it's a football rivalry as well. So the fans are ready to go. So I think, yeah, obviously Josh's fan base. That's the only opponent who would make it financially viable to put on that event.
And then Reece Mould, obviously on the wrong end of a decision with Gary Cully out in Ireland, a bit of a bitter one to take, but another close fight that probably could have gone either way.
Yeah, we obviously we back Reece. Obviously, people say we're biased. Maybe we are, but I thought he'd done enough to nick that. Nobody get the especially bookies and the critics didn't give Reece a chance, but he listened. He trained hard. He put everything in, and it was just hard done by considering Reece was the champion going into that fight. It was like the challenger. Reece's manager Steve Wood. He were arguing with Matchroom because we found out that Reece will walk into the ring first. You're like, well, Reece is the champion. That doesn't normally shouldn't happen. It didn't happen with when Katie fought Chantel. They followed the correct process then. So why not? And it was stacked against him. They weren't going to allow Gary to lose a second time. Maybe they'd invested a lot in him, and they were like, we can't let this investment go to waste, sort of thing. But yeah, I think obviously there's talk now of Katie Chantel 3, which at Croke Park, which I think that's the only fight again financially which will sell at Croke Park. And I think Reece absolutely deserves his chance at the rematch at Croke. Unfortunately, he would have to go to Ireland again and be against it again. But yeah, so I think he deserves that. And I think with quite a lot of people, when you looked at the fight after the fight on social media, all the comments were Gary didn't win that, Reece won that. So hopefully the power of social media can grant that rematch.
I almost feel bad for you. It's like the power of social media's got to put the whole gym through the ordeals
yeah,
with what's gone on
yeah,
recently.
yeah. Sean's Sean's ready for retiring. He says I'm not getting much luck lately, am I?
Hey,
Yeah,
box
it's
cross.
actually giving more of a fire. He says we'll just work even harder than we already do, and make sure that everything does go our way. So things have like this year for us. We've had three very controversial decisions go against us. So like I say, things coming free, they might say, right, you've had your hard luck now. Your fortunes are going to change next year, and we'll make sure that does happen.
Well, I hope so. Certainly in your case, Maxi. As always, thank you for speaking to us. Lovely to catch up with you again.
You
Final
too, mate.
message to your supporters.
Yeah, again, a lot of them keep asking what's happening. Again, they've all been patient, like myself, and we're very near. I'm very much hopeful that we can get some fight news before Christmas, before the year's ending. So again, thank you for your continued support, and hope everybody has a good Christmas, New Year, and we'll be ready to to change your fortune and be involved in some big fights next year.
Maxi Hughes, top man. Thank you for speaking to us at
Cheers,
Box.
pal.